year, and it's on self-regulation, emotional regulation in children, with Janine Fitzgerald, who actually did professional development with teachers last year. So she'll be here on March 30th. And then on April 11th, we're going to have an opiate awareness night. We're going to have speakers come in and talk to parents about how to identify opiate abuse, how to prevent it, some warning signs, and then we're still taking shape. We're still forming that one, but that's going to be the gist of it. Maybe for parents and kids. That's the plan, and we may include dinner. So like I said, we're still forming that. That's April 11th, and we'll let you know where that is. It's either going to be here or at the middle school. Sarah Ward is a very popular speaker. She's spoken to more than 450 private and public schools, nationally and internationally. She's been featured on NPR. If you have not seen her before, you're in for a real treat tonight. I can tell you she's fantastic. And if you have seen her before, then you know. That's why you're here. So she's going to talk about strategies for homework, organization, time management, everything. And she's fabulous. And welcome, Sarah. Thank you.
So, am I cool not using a microphone? Is that fine? Everybody, are you good? Okay. So, I'm just going to go ahead and dive on in. I wish that my co-director, Kristen, could be here. Kristen and I have been working together for 25 years. We always have this running joke that all our strategies are kid-tested and mother-approved because she's got 3 kids and I have 2 kids. I can't tell you how many times my own daughter looks at me and goes, "Stop executive functioning." I'm like, okay. It's easy to kind of pass those strategies along. I actually love to take 2 seconds to share the story of how I kind of got into this field. I think it's important. This is my daughter, Michaela. Have any of you ever heard of the book, The Explosive Child by Ross Greene? Yeah, it's a very well-known book. So this is my explosive child. My daughter was, 2, now 3, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, she would have like these huge temper tantrums. She is very dyslexic. She has severe ADHD. I'm a speech and language pathologist. I was always in the field. I'm like, oh my God, what is this? Why is she having these tantrums that are so disproportionate to what's upsetting her? And I really learned that it was because she had very lagging executive function skills, which sort of took me down this path of, well, how do you develop executive function skills? And this is, I've been like jumping through, so let me go back for 1 minute. There it is. This is my son, Maddie. Maddie's a sophomore in high school, and the reason why I share that is because what kids need when they're in elementary school is entirely different when you go to middle, and then it changes again when you go to high school. And I really want you to sort of have a sense of what that trajectory is and what's important to know. So we're going to do a lot of strategies that kind of cover that as well. Because I do have a small group, how many of you are here for parents of elementary age? And then how about middle and high school? Perfect. I have strategies for all of them, so we'll span the distance. I just wanted to know. So for those of you who also don't know my story, this is my husband, Michael, and Michael was riding his bicycle. He got hit by an 18-wheel Mack truck, thrown 45 feet, cracked his skull open, and was put in a coma. And he was in a coma for 8 weeks and sustained a very severe traumatic brain injury. And so I had this very weird situation where I had a daughter who wasn't developing executive function skills, and I had a husband who lost his executive function skills. So that sort of took me down this path of, well, then how the heck do you actually get executive function skills? What is this skill? And then ironically, that took me to NASA, and my job was to train robots' executive function skills, because the idea was that if a robot goes into space and there's no parent to tell it what to do, it ought to be able to solve its own problems. And now you're going to know how old I am. We put that software in a Palm Pilot. Of course, they don't make Palm Pilots anymore. And we thought, this is great. We've created the first prosthetic frontal lobe for patients with brain injury, except they would lose the Palm Pilot, and then, of course, they lost their memory, and all of our money in the grant went down the tubes. So I had a lot of parents who would even say to me, well, oh, that's my kid. I can give him a checklist, and he loses the checklist, or he's got a phone, and he loses the phone. So with all of that in mind, I really started shifting towards schools and parents, and I work in lots of schools and support lots of parents. So the real reason I share that too is at the end of the day, parents just want to know what to do about it. So we're going to spend all tonight giving you as many practical strategies as possible. So I was in a 4th grade classroom, and I was asked to observe this little guy who had executive dysfunction, and at the start of the 4th transition, the expectation was that he would have a black social studies folder. Is it better if I actually use the microphone? Do you think it'd be better? I don't know. Not that it really matters, but let's see my voice is a little bit. Is that a little better?
Yeah.
Whatever you want. Is it better or worse? What do you think? That makes sense.
All right, I'll stick with this for just a minute then. So at the end of the fourth transition, the expectation was you would have out your black social studies folder. Now the little guy that I was observing, I took a photograph, and this was his desk at the end of the fourth transition. Oh, I don't have my clicker, hold on 1 minute. Just 1 second, occasionally it does this little thing where it needs to go there. Okay, and that's what his desk looked like. And I love this picture because he's got his black social studies folder, but they had made math cubes, and so here's all the trash. He hadn't gotten rid of the trash, and there's the math cube. This is his personal reading book. This is his social studies book. This is his English language arts folder, and my favorite is the yellow sticky is the to-do list from the speech pathologist. And every single time he goes to transition, he can't put something away and get the new item, and before you know it, everything's accumulated and it's this big giant mess. So I was in another classroom where this was a student's desk, and that's what it was supposed to look like. But the student that I was observing, that's what their desk looks like. And again, I think it's a great picture. It's a black hole. I mean, look at all those papers shoved inside, textbook, notebook, water bottle on the floor. And I also had a junior in high school who came to see me, and I said, okay, did your teacher give you any homework? Do you need any support? He goes, well, actually, I have a biology final on Friday. And I said, okay, well, do you have a study guide? He goes, yes, just a minute. And this is what he pulls out of his backpack. And I love this because there are his shoulders, and he kept pulling out paper after paper, and he would look at a piece of paper and go, oh man, if I turned that in, I could have gotten credit for it. He had work he'd completed that he never even passed in. And this is really typical. But you should find this too. I go to a lot of schools and they have an ed plan, and the ed plan says for executive function that the student will organize their backpack and record their homework. But I want you to look at this picture. In this classroom, the teacher gave the students 40 minutes to generate 3 paragraphs of output. So here's 3 paragraphs. I know it's a little light, but don't worry about it. And here's 3 paragraphs. These are both neurotypical students. But the student that I was working with who has executive function challenges, that's his output in the same 40 minutes. I don't know if you can tell, but it's only 2 sentences, although it's a pretty rocking title. It's made like the bubble title, which is kind of cool. I'm sure you see, writing is the bane of existence for these kids. It is so hard to initiate writing, complete writing, get writing turned in. A lot of kids, when they finish, they say, I'm all done, I don't want to go back and edit. So what does writing have to do with executive function? We'll talk a little bit about that tonight. So kind of with no further ado, let me blank this for just 1 second. I was also at the Learning in the Brain conference, and this particular presenter got up and he said that we now know your average tween all the way through adults typically at home is surrounded by 3 technology devices at one time. And I said, 3? I mean, I get 2, right? Like maybe your television and your cell phone, or maybe like the laptop and your iPad. But I thought, I'm not really sure that I buy that there are 3. So I go home and I walk into my bedroom. Now I have an electric blanket, so sometimes my daughter likes to sit in my bed and snuggle underneath the electric blanket. And I walk into my bedroom and I have to snap this photo. Television, iPad, cell phone, and a Latin homework. I'm like, oh. And I'm actually really, really strict about technology. And I thought, why is this? But what is even more important is the presenter went on to say that the average volume of working memory for tweens all the way through adults now has declined by 3 units. So if you remember when you were in college, working memory used to be 7 plus or minus 2 pieces of information. That's now dropped down to 4. We have less working memory because we're shifting from device to device, and we don't practice working memory, especially our kids. So do you guys remember 411? You would dial and you'd ask, for example, you'd say, can I have the number for Domino's Pizza? And then you give you the number and you hold your phone and you go like this, 421 per second. You know, you like hold it, I can dial this, and you dial as fast as you can. Kids don't do that anymore. I mean, kids don't practice working memory. We don't give people directions, we just give them our address and they plug it into their GPS. So working memory is declining, and that's a problem because you have to have working memory for executive function skills. So I love this cartoon. I show it every single time I lecture. It's my favorite. Mom goes, don't you have a project due tomorrow? And he goes, yeah, I'm getting ready to start on it. And I love that kid's just sitting there. Mom goes, start? Well, when was it assigned? And he looks at his mom like, what? About a month ago. What's your problem? And he goes, sheesh, Mom, all it involves is some research, 6 pages of analysis, and a poster. And I think that's really funny, because in that kid's mind, there are only 3 things to do: research, analysis, and a poster. You can tell he has no idea what the research involves, right? Do I need to go find 5 primary sources? Do I need to interview somebody? Do I need to read 2 chapters in a textbook? And then he turns around and he goes, oh yeah, hey, by the way, Mom, do we have any poster board? And Mom is just climbing the wall like, you've got to be kidding me. And I love this cartoon because we might as well call this entire cartoon executive dysfunction. Russell Barkley is really considered sort of the premier researcher on executive function skills. And what he will tell you is that what this entire thing is called time blindness. Many of our students who have challenges with executive dysfunction have two modes of time, now and not now. So I don't have to worry about that, it's not now. And we really need to address that. I'm going to talk a little bit about that tonight. So with no further ado, what I'd love to do, even if you've read lots of books on executive function, is hopefully give you a whole new understanding of what executive function really is. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start in a home setting. And here's a kiddo, and Mom comes up, and Mom goes, honey, you have lacrosse today at 3:30, you need to start getting ready. And he goes, yep. And I go, okay, you really need to get a move on, we have to leave the house at 3:20. And he's like, mm-hmm. Now Mom feels the anxiety of this, so Mom goes into his bedroom and maybe takes out his uniform and puts it on the bed. Okay, babe, come on, you better get a move on, and you should go to the bathroom, because by the time you get to the field, you won't have a chance to pee. And he's like, he's not moving, so Mom, feeling anxious, goes to the mudroom, and she might grab his stick and puts it over by the door. Come on, babe, you also need a water bottle, you're gonna get thirsty. And then she goes out to the garage, she grabs his lacrosse bag, puts it by the front door, and finally when it's time to go, she says, we have to go right now. Maybe he kind of gets up and out the door they go. The problem is, who just did a good job getting ready for lacrosse? Mom did. All right? If our kids are truly developing really good executive function skills and they have this ability, we have to get to the point that they don't just go, yeah, I know, but we can look at a student and say, Mark, it's Tuesday. And that's it. And that's painful if you think about it for a minute. But watch this. If he has good executive function skills, he's like, okay, well, if it's Tuesday, then, oh, there's my clicker again, I have lacrosse. And notice he's seeing himself playing lacrosse, and he's aware that it's 3 o'clock right now. And so what he does is he says, okay, well, if it's 3 o'clock and I have lacrosse, then I know space, I'm going to be going from home over to the local field where we have practice. If it's 3 o'clock now, we usually leave around 3:20. And he imagines if today's a scrimmage, then I have to bring objects, my lacrosse uniform, and he has to pay attention to people. Now, what's so interesting about that is you as parents are really brilliant. We're constantly giving our kids nonverbal cues. If I say to Mark, okay, babe, it's time to get a move on, when it gets close to 3:20, I raise my intonation, I go, okay, and I start moving through the house, right? I move a little faster, and I grab my purse, and I might grab myself, and I'm like, all right, kiddo, and I'm doing this. But if you have a child who doesn't pick up on nonverbal cues, then in the house, you're a parent who's just doing this. You're wandering back and forth, and that doesn't mean anything to them. It doesn't say, okay, I need to start moving too. So the thing about it is that we're constantly aware of space, time, objects, and people. And then what happens is, and this is what we call situational intelligence. And what I want you to know so important about this is executive function has absolutely zero to do with IQ. In fact, 90 to 95% of the time when we test these kids, they have average, if not significantly above average intelligence. And even teachers are frustrated because a teacher will finally get to the point that they refer a child for testing, and the child comes back and there's no score that makes them eligible for services. But because executive doesn't have anything to do with IQ, it has everything to do with what we call situational intelligence. Situational intelligence is your ability at any one moment in time to always be able to stop and read the room. So you say, space, where am I? Okay, where am I going? What time is it now? What's coming up? What's usual? What objects do I need? What's my job? What's the job of the people around me? That's called situational intelligence. And then the next thing you do, which is really an important slide, is that notice he's sitting on the couch, okay? And as he's sitting on the couch, he says, yes, I have lacrosse. But then what he does is he begins to imagine, well, to do this, I need to go up into my dressing room and get my uniform. I need to come down to the mudroom and get my stick, and out to the garage to get my bag. And notice he's imagining all of that movement, even though he's sitting on the couch. So the minute he's like, all right, I gotta get going, He stands up, he immediately walks right upstairs to his bedroom, he goes in over to the dresser, gets everything he needs, comes right back down, he goes to the mudroom, grabs his lacrosse stick, out to the garage and gets his bag. Now, if you have a kid who doesn't do this, then you say, Mark, you've got to get ready for lacrosse. Mark, go get your stuff. Please go upstairs and get your stuff. And Mark goes, okay. And then what Mark does is he goes upstairs, and he might get a little distracted, and he grabs his cleats, and then he comes back downstairs. And Mom goes, where's your uniform? You have a scrimmage today. He goes, oh, yeah, right. So he goes back upstairs, and he might get distracted, and he grabs the shirt, and he comes back downstairs. Mom goes, you need your bag? And he goes, all right. So he goes out to the garage and gets the bag, and Mom goes, where are your shorts? You need your shorts. He goes, oh, they're in my room. So he goes back upstairs, right, gets the shorts, then he comes back downstairs. Mom says, get a water bottle. He goes to get a water bottle. Mom says, where's your stick? He goes to the stick, and she goes, where are your socks? He goes, oh, they're in my room. And he goes back upstairs to his room. Now, does anybody know this kid? The inefficiency of it is a disaster, right? I mean, it's up and down and up and down and up and down. But if you have this skill, then you pre-imagine, what are all the things I'm going to do in my bedroom? And then what are all the things I'm going to do in the bathroom? And when I come down, does it make sense to go to the garage first or to the mudroom first? You pre-imagine all the things and where you're going to go. So the thing about it is that what this boy is doing is he's using nonverbal working memory. And remember I said working memory you have to have for executive function skills. But it occurs in a very explicit order. So you have to start with nonverbal working memory. And that's essentially like your imaginary thought bubble. And you say, okay, well, what am I going to look like? I'm at lacrosse. And if I'm at lacrosse, then this is what I need. And notice what he's doing is he's using verbal working memory, but it's absolutely in the form of self-directed talk. He's telling himself what I'm going to do. I'm going to go upstairs and grab my uniform and my socks and my cleats. Then I'm going to come downstairs. I should probably go ahead and grab the water bottle, then my bag, and then the stick. He's talking to himself. If you contrast that with this little guy, he had no image at all of what he was going to do. And as a result, he has really bad if-then thinking. There isn't any if-then thinking. And you should notice that about your own kids. You, on times, you should be like, didn't you think about that? They really didn't. You know, they're missing that kind of cause and effect if-then thinking. And he is talking. He's like, yep, I know, okay. But his verbal working memory is not in the form of self-directed talk. He's not telling himself what it is that he needs to do. So what I want you to see here is there's this combination of two skills. When we combine situational intelligence, space, time, objects, and people reading the room, with this nonverbal working memory to say, what am I going to look like? It looks like this, right? And again, by the way, why is Mom so frustrated? Because Mom's the one who's doing a lot of this, right? We have to transfer that to the child. But when you combine that nonverbal working memory with that situational intelligence to do this skill, that type of processing is called mimetic ideational information processing. Now, holy moly, is that a mouthful, so get rid of that. Essentially, you mime the idea in your head. Now, it's very light, but you can see the yellow right there. We teach students, and we teach teachers to teach students, that you have to be a mind mime. You have to pre-imagine the future. And so all of you are sort of doing it right now. You're sitting here and you're like, okay, well, Sarah will stop talking at 9, and I know that TJ Maxx is nearby, and it'll close by 9:30, so I'll just whip over there and go to TJ Maxx, hop back in the car, and I'll go home. But what you did is this. You said, okay, I pre-simulated how the future will play out. I'm going to leave here. I'm going to go to TJ Maxx. By the time I get there, it'll be like 9:15 and they close at 9:30. And then what you do is you try it out and you pre-experience it. And you're like, you know what? Walking into TJ Maxx at 9:15 when I know they're going to close, it's just really not a lot of time. Plus, it's kind of rainy and icky out. Ugh, that just feels like more effort than what it's worth. So what you do is you go, forget it. I'll just go to TJ Maxx tomorrow. And you come up with a plan B. That's what we do, is we pre-imagine plan A to plan B. Now what's important about this is that this skill, where you're making the movie in your head of what am I going to look like, what am I going to do, what's my plan, it really has to have some key elements. And if you don't teach your kids these key elements, they'll never be independent. They'll be dependent upon you. So I'm going to have you do this with me for just a minute. The first thing that you do is you make an image. Okay, so you ready? I talked about TJ Maxx. And I make a picture of TJ Maxx. TJ Maxx. Yay! Is that planning? It's not actually planning. I mean, I have a picture that's helpful, but that's not really planning. The next thing I have to do is I have to have something called episodic future thinking. And this is really new research that's in the field of executive function. I'm going to talk about it for 1 minute. Episodic memory is our personal autobiographical memory for space and time. All right, so I'm going to put you on the spot. Are you ready? Would you give me a definition of wedding? What would be a definition of wedding? If I looked in the dictionary under W, what do you think it would be?
Gathering of two people who want to join together.
Perfect. A gathering of two people who want to join together. Awesome. Now, did anybody here happen to go to a wedding in the past year at all? Anyone at all? You did in the back. What was the wedding like? Do you mind sharing with us?
No, what would you like to know?
Anything? Tell me where was it? What happened?
It was in Toronto.
Ooh, nice.
It was a second marriage for one person. It was two different religions, so it was kind of a blending of different religious things. It was in a hotel.
Neat.
Fun? It was a lot of fun, yeah. There was a ceremony, then the cocktail hour, then the party, and they had a band, a huge band. It was terrific. The food, yeah, it was really fun.
Now here's the total difference. You just gave me the definition of a wedding, but you just re-experienced a wedding that you went to. That is episodic memory. It's seeing yourself in space and time. And the thing about that is we now know there's a lot of research that says we can have episodic future memory, which is our ability to see ourselves in a future space and time. And we call that self-projection. So I can actually see myself. It was so funny, I have to tell you, I had asked a person one time to tell the wedding, and she said, well, it would best be described as a Pinterest nightmare. I'm like, oh dear, that's not good. Can't love Pinterest there. Okay. So the thing about it is, I want you to hold on to that because we're going to talk about why episodic memory is so important to strategies. So it's not enough to see TJ Maxx. There's TJ Maxx. Now I self-project. I see myself at TJ Maxx. Yay. Okay. Is that planning? Yeah, it's still not planning. Something else is missing. The next thing that is missing is mental time travel. And what that means is that I pre-imagine my movement. So I say, okay, I don't even know. Is there a TJ Maxx in your room, by the way? I'm assuming there might be. I didn't guess. All right, so I'll put this down for like 1 minute or so. Okay. So I imagine myself, and I say, okay, I'm going to go from the high school, through the rain, over to TJ Maxx. I have to go from the parking lot, inside, past the purses, over to the dresses, hopefully try on the dress, in the fitting room, then back to the dresses, maybe buy the shoes and back. And what we do is we add together that movement from point A to point B to point C, and we pre-experience how that feels. If I get to TJ Maxx at 9:15, how am I going to have to move to look for a dress and try one on and pay for it in 15 minutes before it closes at 9:30? That's going to feel rushed. How do you think we have the ability to estimate time? We estimate time by, in our minds, adding going from point A to point B to point C. If you're driving into Boston tomorrow morning, you picture traffic, so you give yourself more time to get from point A to point B. You did it this morning. You got up, and in your mind, you said, okay, I have to go from my bed to the shower, from the shower to the vanity, from the vanity to the closet, from the closet to the kitchen to eat, back to the vanity to brush my teeth, back to get my shoes and leave. We have students that don't do this, and they get in the shower in the morning, and they stand in there until the hot water runs out, and they come out and their hair's still dry. And as parents, you go, we didn't do it, The thing is that that's what allows you to speed up your pace. I always ask families, I say, can your kid increase his pace? Even when the morning is like crazy and everything's going on, does your kid go, oh my gosh, I'm going to be late, just hurry? Or they're like, yep, I know, and they're just kind of moving along. This is the skill that allows you to do that. So again, you mine the future. You make an image. What will I look like? How am I moving? And what's my emotion? Now, I love to give an example of this because as you experience yourself in time and you're talking yourself through this experience, you're using that self-talk. I'm going to go here, then I'll do that. After this, I'll manage that. So you mine the future and talk your way through it. Now I'm going to give you my favorite example of this. I'm going to be the kid who has terrible executive function skills. They're stinky, they're really bad, okay? So I'm downstairs and I'm eating breakfast, you're my mom, and you say, Sarah, it is 7:15, we have to be out the door at 7:30. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm like, okay, well, you need to get upstairs and you need to get all your stuff for school, and we've got to get out the door. I'm like, yeah, okay. And I don't know if you see this, but it's like, go now, okay. So notice I'm the kid with stinky executive function skills. I'm like, yep, okay. I might not change my pace. I kind of go upstairs, and I go walking upstairs, and I open my bedroom door, and I walk over to my desk, and I see my iPad, which makes me remember, you know what? I got a gift card for iTunes from my uncle for my birthday. I wonder where that is. And all of a sudden, I start looking in my bedroom for my iTunes gift card everywhere. Okay, is this the right time to be looking for the iTunes gift card? No, because now you come up and go, what are you doing? We're late. Honey, get your homework, get your backpack, get your sweatshirt, and you cue me through every step. But if you have good executive function skills, and I'm telling you this is probably one of the most important slides of the whole presentation, it looks like this. So now, you're my mom, and you say, Sarah, 7:15, we have to be out the door at 7:30. I'm like, I know. And again, I can still do a little pushback, all right? But I'm downstairs, and you have to recognize that I'm downstairs. So as I'm downstairs, I mine the future. I make an image. I see my bedroom. What do I look like? I self-project, and I see myself in my bedroom. Uh-oh, I moved too fast. I imagine my movement. I'm going from my backpack, come on, now it's not going to click, there it goes. Oh, really? Come on. Maybe not. All right, maybe not. I don't think it's my battery, because I know my laser pointer's working. Oh, jeepers. Hold on 1 second, there it goes. Okay, so I imagine my movement. I know I need to go from my backpack to my desk. I have to get my textbook and my homework. I look out the window, you know what, it's cold today, I need a sweatshirt, and I don't want to miss the bus. And I open my bedroom door. And do you know that before I even put one toe in my bedroom, I've already executed the entire plan in my head. So that the minute I get to my bedroom, I grab my backpack, I go over to my desk, I get my textbook, I get my homework to the armoire to get my sweatshirt, and right back downstairs we go. 90% of the time, task planning happens in a different space from where you execute the plan. I have to say that again. 90% of the time, task planning happens in a different space from where you execute the plan. So what you do is you say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. You did this morning. You're like, all right, I'm going to wear the black or the blue dress because I have a business meeting. And you get upstairs to your closet and you grab the black or the blue. Kids with weak executive function skills who don't do this, who say, go get dressed, they walk upstairs, maybe they get to the closet and they stare. And now they're a beat behind. So the thing is we have to get students to sort of be this beat ahead. So if you still don't know what I mean, this is what it is. If you say to your kid, okay, time for bed, you've really got to get to bed, it's getting late. It's not enough for a kid to say, yep, I need to go to bed. They have to run that movie in their head. And the movie in their head is, I need to pack my bag, I need to set my alarm, I need to brush my teeth, I need to wash my face. It is exactly like that. It's a really fast movie in your head of where you're going and what you're doing, and then you carry out that plan. Now, the part that's really tricky about this, though, is that as you get older, you carry out tasks across farther distances. So in this example here, I'm now in middle school, I go to my locker, and I have to imagine, well, what am I going to look like in science, which is down the hall, up the stairs, and down another hallway. When I get there, I'm turning in my homework, I need my goggles, and I have to have my science lab journal or I won't get credit for being in the class. The problem is, that's really far away. I mean, even though I'm at my locker, I have to remember that that's what I'm going to do when I get there. And that's very different than just imagining, what am I going to do in my room or in my house? It's much farther away. And then, all of a sudden, kids get agenda books, right? Instead of getting the homework folder, maybe 4th, 5th, 6th grade, we start to get the agenda book. And I have a lot of kids come see me, and I say, what do you have for homework? And they go, not much, it's not a bad night, it's pretty good. I'm like, really? because that kind of looks like a lot of homework to me. But think about it, if all you do is read that, then you just have science, Spanish, math, and a poster. There's only 4 things to do tonight. But if you have good executive function skills, you mine the future and you use your situational intelligence. You say, okay, well yeah, I'm at my locker, but I'm going to be doing homework at, oh, let me go back 1 minute. Hold on. My clicker is being really temperamental, I'm sorry. Then I go, okay, I'm going to be doing homework at home at 4:30. And I don't read that I have science, I actually see the textbook and I know I'm reading and answering questions. I don't read Spanish, I know it's the workbook and I'm making flashcards for 10 terms. Again, I know I did the front, all I have left is the back of the math worksheet. And in my mind, I'm actually doing those assignments so that I'm packing the items in my backpack at my locker. And I know, maybe I don't know exactly what my poster is going to be looking like, but the teacher gave an example, so I kind of know. And watch what this student does. This student is at her locker, and she is envisioning being at home. And in her mental movie, she walks downstairs to the den area, over to the countertop, where mom keeps like construction paper and markers, and she's looking in that, and she doesn't think that she sees any poster board. Not really sure there's any poster board there. So what she does, even though she's at her locker, is she says, well, maybe mom can show me how you print out a poster, or when mom picks me up from school, I'll ask her to take me to Walgreens to get poster board on the way home. Isn't that awesome executive function skills? Wow, would that be great? But here's the thing. The distance, and I forgot one slide which is important. It's just so tricky. I'm finding, and you must see the same thing too, more and more by middle and especially high school, kids don't use agenda books anymore. And they will even say to you, I don't need to write it down, the teacher's going to post it online. It'll be on the website. Well, the downside of that is, if I go to my locker and I have my cell phone, I can just be like, yeah, well, I have homework tonight, new episode of The Voice is on, I can't wait, did I get a text back from Mark? Oh, these lockers are so small. That cell phone doesn't trigger me to what my homework is going to look like. And then the other dilemma I see is kids get home and they've blocked an hour for homework, but it takes them 45 minutes to figure out what the homework is that they need to do. It's just really tricky. So we do encourage, to the extent that you can, agenda books are really helpful. So again, the distance from where you are to how far in the future you're going to see is called the temporal spatial window, or what we call the time horizon. And this is also developmental, which is interesting. So I'm going to see, for example, what am I going to do in my house versus I'm in my classroom, what do I need to do in my class versus, I'm at my locker, what am I going to look like down the hall, up the stairs and down another hallway versus I'm at my locker, what am I going to look like at home 2 hours and 4 miles from here? Do you see how that's far away? Well, that time horizon is developmental. Guess how far in the future 2-year-olds can see? Right now. That's my 2-year-old tantrum. If you say to a 2-year-old, no, you have to wait to have cookies, they're going to have a tantrum. So look at this one. 3 to 5-year-olds can only see 5 to 20 minutes into the future. And your elementary students, first graders, several hours. And believe it or not, third graders can only see 8 to 12 hours into the future. And it isn't until that you are 12 to 16-year-olds you can see 2 to 3 days. Why do you think all of our middle and high schoolers blow off their essays or studying for an exam until 2 days before it's due? Because they can't see it. It's like, yeah, I need to study. Whatever, it's way out there. So in this case, it isn't until you're in college 2 to 3 weeks into the future, and it isn't until you're in adulthood 3 to 5 weeks in the future. Now the thing about this is how many of you, of course, have heard the wonderful term ADHD, right? There's a huge push right now to change the diagnosis of ADHD to EFDD, Executive Function Developmental Delay. Because we absolutely know if you have ADHD, you have executive function challenges. But you can have executive function challenges without ADD, that's important. But if you have the ADD diagnosis, we absolutely know that you will demonstrate a 30% delay in these skills. 30% translates to 3 to 3.5 years. So if you have a 16-year-old Instead of being able to see 2 to 3 days into the future, they can only see that 8 to 12 hours. If you have, say, for example, a first grader who's supposed to be able to plan several hours in advance, their attention is at best 5 to 20 minutes into the future. So if you don't know what I mean, this is what that time horizon looks like, all right? So if you look at this, if you imagine, and you're on a normal trajectory, and you know that you have an exam coming up, well, if my exam is 2 hours from now, I can totally see myself taking that exam, no problem at all. But if that exam is tomorrow, then it might look a little bit like that. If I know the exam is next Monday after the weekend, it's like, yeah, I have that exam coming up. If you tell me my exam is at the end of next week and I ought to start studying for it, do you see what that means? I'm like, yeah, whatever, okay? If you tell me that my exam is in 2 weeks, I'm like, okay. I'm not going to initiate because I'm like, whatever. And if you tell me that my midterm is coming up and to start organizing my materials, I'm like, okay. Do you see what that is? I don't see it. It's too far out beyond my time horizon. And remember that your high schooler at best can see 2 to 3 days. Your high schooler is right here. That's about as far as they can see. So that's why so many of those kids don't start studying until right before it's due. So it's really important to know that. And I will tell you what's fascinating to me. I'm just going to put this back up here. I have more high school students that get themselves into college. They do it and they get into college. And then they have to take a medical leave and then they end up on my caseload. But think about, and it's because they intellectually can handle college, but not the organizational demands. Because if you think about it, when you walk into college on day one, the professor gives you a syllabus. And the syllabus says, here's what we're going to do for the next month and then the next month after that. But that high schooler is actually, even if they're 18, their executive function age is more that of a 15-year-old. They want to turn things in every couple of days because they can't see that far out. Why do you need to know this? Because every strategy we're going to talk about tonight is to be visual so that we can increase that time horizon, so that they can plan across time. That's our big goal. So let me show you then, again, what this will look like. This is our model of executive function skills. Follow me along. I know the print's a little bad on there, but hopefully it's better on yours. We start with the idea of the done. What will it look like when I'm done? What steps, how am I moving? What sequence am I going to do to make it look like that? And what materials will I need? And remember, 90% of the time, task planning, what I just showed you there, happens in a different space. We call that planning backwards. You plan backwards, and you'll hold on to this, and then when it's the appropriate time, now I'm home, I'm going to execute my homework plan. I then gather my materials, I do my work while monitoring time, and I know when to be done. If you have mind to the future, that's what allows you to compare the plan with the actual what's in front of you and make that comparison. So that's what the self-monitor is. What's really hard, and I mean I speak this as a mom, as a clinician, as an educator, is that so many books and so many programs don't start by teaching kids to mine the future and work backwards. Instead, it starts right here at the level of task execution. We say to kids, get ready for soccer practice, get ready for bed, get ready for dinner, get ready for school. If you start by telling your child to get ready, they will depend upon you. So we have to make that shift that they don't do that. So we really want to start by teaching them to imagine this future. Now, I don't really like a wordy slide, or I'm going to sound like a broken record, but here we go. I'm sure if you've read a lot of books on executive function, you've seen all of these words. But this is what it is. You read the room, you imagine a goal, you initiate a plan towards that goal. As you're doing it, you constantly compare plan versus actual. And if it's not going according to plan, you modify your performance and you are flexible, you shift. As I love to say to all of my high school students, shift happens. There's an F in there, sometimes you just gotta be flexible. However, the one thing that underlies this whole thing is the passage of time. You have to have a really good internal clock. You constantly have to be aware of what time is it now, by what time do I need it to look like that, how long have I been spending, how much time do I have left. You have to have a very good internal clock. And the problem is, and I love to share this story, so if you've heard me before, it's your 20-second boring moment. But I grew up in Colorado, and when I was a kid, we had 3 channels of TV, ABC, NBC, and CBS. And my favorite television show was Little House on the Prairie. And it was on every afternoon at 4 o'clock. And I had a classic mom. My mom said, if you get your homework done, you can watch Little House on the Prairie. So I got my homework, and there's the clock. And I'm like, okay, it's 3:30. And I'm doing my work, it's 3:45. Oh, it's 3:50, gotta work through this, it's 3:55. Cool, my homework's done. And I run over to turn on my show. Because you can't turn on your TV show at 4:20 and be like, what do you mean, Mary's blind? What happened? I missed something here, you know? So the thing about it is, your kids, very different. They have Netflix, they have 1,000 channels of TV, they have Hulu, and they have that wonderful thing called a DVR. I'll record my show. If I don't get to it, I'll just start it and hit pause whenever I want. Your kids are growing up in a world where there are no time barriers. You want something, you get it right now. You want to watch your TV, yeah, I'll do it later. So the thing is, I don't know if you're seeing this, but I see kids that have homework assignments that should take them 30 minutes, takes them an hour and a half. Because they do 2 problems, they send 2 text messages. They do another problem, they pet the dog. They do another 3 problems, they look on Instagram. And before you know it, all of this multitasking, they're really behind on stuff. So what happens is all of this pause, rewind, fast forward life, anything available at our fingertips, has really made kids miss self-restraint and inhibition. It's missing that planning piece. So we have to pull that back in. So that's kind of my goal tonight too. All right, so with all of that in mind, let's move to all executive function strategies and what we can do about it. Because at the end of the day, that's what everybody wants to know. But do you feel like you have a good idea of what executive function is? Can you picture it? Okay. So first of all, we have a program called the Get Ready, Do Done model, and it's based on this work of Russell Barkley where he says, yeah, if you're going to make kids independent, you have to teach them to stop and to see the future, say the future, feel the future, and go towards that future. So based upon that, we developed something called the Get Ready, Do Done model. And the Get Ready, Do Done model says, of course, since you've heard me say it all night, that we start with the done. What will something look like when I'm done? What do I need to do to make it look like that? And what will I need? And then, of course, the idea is that we always want to start with the done. Sorry, my clicker's being a little wild again. We always want to start with this idea of what will it look like. Now remember I said don't start with get ready. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to say, well, why not start with get ready? How big of a deal is it? What's the big problem? All right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to come over and now if you look at this picture, we're going to pretend that's me. Notice that my hair is not brushed. I'm eating breakfast. I'm still in my pajamas. I haven't brushed my teeth, anything. Okay? Now, I'm going to ask you to be my mom, all right? And I don't want you to use any special strategies, nothing. I just want you to be plain old mom. And as you can see, it's 7:30 and we have to be out the door in 15 minutes. And I'm eating breakfast. Okay, just go ahead, cue me along. I'm eating breakfast.
Time to go. Get ready.
I know.
The bus will be here.
Yeah. Isn't this painful? I know it's awful, isn't it? Okay, go ahead, keep going. I'm putting you on the spot. I know, I'm eating my breakfast. I'm almost done. Okay. Yep, okay, Mom. Ooh, look at this magazine.
Okay, time to go. In the car.
I love this is where most parents go, I'm leaving without you. Okay. But what is so painful about this is who's actually doing all of the thinking and the work right now? Mom is. Because at some point if you get frustrated and you say, go upstairs and brush your hair. Put your bowl in the sink. Actually, Mom is the one who's doing all the movement through the house. And the other thing is I can finally go upstairs, and I come back downstairs, and I come down, and I've got my pants on, right? Oh, let me go back up to this one here. There it is. And I come down, and I've got my pants and my t-shirt on, and I'm like, okay, I am ready to go to school. Sorry about this. There it is. There's my, oh, really? Okay, one click. There it is. I come down, and I'm like, all right, I'm ready. Let's go. The problem is, and exactly as you described it when you said time for school, that's what you were picturing, right? Is this one right here, is this. That's what you meant. That's what you wanted me to look like when we walked out the door. So here's my first strategy, and you really got to try this because everybody who tries it comes back. And by the way, this is not the strategy. I have many parents who say, well, I put a checklist right there on the counter. I put a checklist and I said, this is what you need to do to get out the door. Now, based on everything I've told you, is this a good idea or a bad idea? It's actually a bad idea. Checklists do not work for kids with executive function disorders. And I hear a couple of you going, oh crap, I love checklists. Right, like really, checklists aren't gonna work? Okay, how many of you truly like checklists? I mean, we all like checklists, right? Now, you like checklists, right? Okay, so I'm gonna ask you all to turn around since you're standing up for a moment. If you were gonna make a checklist of things that you got going on tonight or tomorrow morning, would you share with us what would be going on your checklist that you've got going on the next evening or tomorrow or a couple of days? What's up for you?
I have to return the camera, and I have to pick up some books that came in at the library. I've got to stop at the grocery store because there's nothing for dinner tomorrow night.
Now, what did you just observe that she did? What did you just see that she did? You did this. I have to go and watch what she did. I have to return the camera. The fact that you gestured this, you gestured your movement through space and time. I'm returning the camera over there. Then you said I have to go to the library. And believe it or not, the library is probably on the opposite side of town. Then I need to go to the grocery store and I need to get some stuff for dinner tomorrow night. You're gesturing for movement in time, which means you're visualizing. We picture what we're going to put on a checklist. And the thing is that checklists start with visualization. Think about it. If you have a cookbook that says you need cinnamon, you don't write down cinnamon. You look at the cookbook, you have your grocery list, and for a fraction of a second, you walk through your pantry, and you're like, okay, there's, like onion powder, and I don't think I need cinnamon, I think I need cinnamon, and then you write cinnamon down. Although I do joke, and it's so true, I'm a little lazy about that, and that's why I have 10 bottles of paprika. I'm like, whatever, just buy another bottle of paprika. And I get a little lazy about that. But we visualize to make a checklist. So here's what you have to know. Checklists don't originally work with kids like this. So instead, here's my first tip and recommendation. If we want a kid to actually develop this skill of nonverbal working memory, where they say, okay, that's what I look like, so then I need to go upstairs, what we recommend that you do, oh, sorry, my clicker's really being hang, is tomorrow morning when your child, and I don't really care what the age your child is, when your child is ready to go tomorrow morning, don't make any big deal out of it. If you're my daughter, even if you're my high schooler, I'm going to say, wow, you look great this morning. Bye, have a good day. That's it. Send them along your way. Now, the next morning when you wake your child up or when they're eating breakfast, I come back and I'm going to show them that picture and I'm going to say, do you remember when you were ready for school yesterday, kiddo? This is what ready well looks like. And you want to use that phrase, this is what ready looks like. But here's the next thing. You really want to say, tell me your plan to match the picture. And the tell me your plan is critical. Because remember, we narrate and use self-talk. We think, okay, I'm going to go upstairs, I'm going to grab the black dress, if I have to iron, then I won't wear the black dress, I'll wear the blue dress. Then I'm going to brush my teeth, and then I'm going to come downstairs. That's what you and I do. We have to teach our kids. Now, if you're saying to me, if you have high school, right? You're like, my high schooler is not going to go for this. Well, it's all in the way that you approach it. If you say to your middle or high schooler, look, you're learning about organization skills. We organize ourselves by first making a movie in our head. This is what you do look like when you're ready. Make a movie in your head. Tell me your plan. Be cognizant about it and talk them through that. And the thing about it is, and this is also just so important to know, is that when I was a kid too, and in 7th grade, my favorite invention of all time was call waiting. And the reason why was because, do you remember when we were in 7th grade, we talked on the phone for hours, right? You'd go, oh my gosh, I know we have that test. Do you know anything about the teacher? Do you have the note cards? How about we share the flashcards? Did you see that really cute boy in class? I know, he's super hot. Do you know any of his friends? I mean, how can we meet? Right? We meet at the locker room tomorrow. I mean, we're talking about the future. Do kids talk on the phone anymore? No. What do? Text. And texts are all about right now. What's up? Nothing. How about you? Not much. What are you doing? Nothing. How about you? I'm bored. I mean, everything is about the right now, and we're seeing a whole generation of kids that doesn't have this self-talk language because they're not used to narrating. So we have to develop that skill. So again, here's where you might see me, and I love this, is, we take the picture, okay, tell me your plan to match the picture. Now this is where parents, and I present this to educators, they all go, oh my God, seriously? I've been to a lecture, I've done all of that, we've used a picture schedule, we've used the visuals, and the visuals don't work. And what they do is they show me, see, we've done that, we've used a visual and it didn't help. Is that an executive function visual? It's not, but you need to know why it's not. The problem is that is a picture checklist, and it's not what I look like. Remember executive function, make an image. What does it look like? What do I look like? How am I moving? There's no me in that, there's no gestalt, there's no movement. And you have to have the photograph, and here's the biggest difference of why this doesn't work. Remember I asked you the definition of wedding? This on the left is a semantic checklist of what ready would be. It's semantic memory. The photograph is episodic memory. It's self-projecting into the future, and that's the difference. So it is really important that if you want your kid, for example, on the weekend to make their bed, don't give them a chore chart and say, make your bed. Instead, yes, this weekend, get the child's bedroom clean, and then when it's all clean, with your students, say, hey, let's take a photograph of what your room looks like when it's neat, and go ahead and get those pictures. Now, the following weekend, say, you know what, your job this morning is to be a bed maker, and we use job talk. Tell me your plan to match the picture. Because when I look at that, I'm like, oh, okay, all I'm doing is pulling up the comforter and putting the pillows on. The photograph gives the student, and it reduces that emotional overload because it doesn't look so overwhelming. But if I just say, go clean your room, totally overwhelming. So my favorite example of this, I tell teachers this all the time. They'll say, well, I need a student to clean their desk. Don't put that on the desk and say, your job is to be a desk cleaner. That's not going to work. Instead, we have them put the picture of the desk that's clean and say, tell me your plan. Well, I need to stack up the books tall to small, then I'll throw out the trash, and I need to put all of the writing utensils on the top shelf. They'll start to narrate their plan. Now, one of my favorite things is I tell teachers all the time to actually take the photograph and put it right beside the cubby. So if you have teachers coming home and asking about that, that's why that is. And we really like this because every parent will say, for the first time, my kid didn't leave 3 lunch boxes in his locker. Because the students go and they say, okay, if I'm going home, I need my backpack, my lunchbox, and my share bag. So it really, really works. It's very cool. Now, I want to tell you my sort of funny story about this picture here. This is Zach. And I lectured in California, and this mom sent me an email, and this is her middle schooler, Zach, and she said, I want to tell you what happened. She said, every morning, Zach misses the bus, and it is so chaotic in our house because then either my husband or myself has to completely rearrange our plans and drive Zach back into school, and then one of us is late for work. And she said, it's just a lot of discord in our house. So she used the app Sketch, which is a great app, and she took a photograph of Zach, and she said, when you're done with your morning routine, your backpack is ready, you've taken care of your hygiene, like your face and brushing your teeth, your jacket is on, your shoes on. So she looks at him and she goes, Zach, if you're done with your morning routine, tell me your plan to match the picture. And I love what Zach did. Zach looked at her and went, oh, please, and rolled his eyes and walked off. And he came downstairs and he had everything he called the bus. And the next day, same thing, she woke up and she goes, all right, if you're done with your morning routine, tell me your plan to match the picture. And again, he's like, total eye roll, which to me is great. And for 2 solid weeks, every day he caught the bus. And Mom finally said to him, you know what, you caught the bus for 2 weeks, what's different? And he laughed and he goes, okay, fine, I didn't know that that's what you meant. And so even if you have a student who's like, seriously, Mom, that's okay. Because at least they're getting that gestalt image of what ready's going to be. So if you say to your student, okay, pack your bag for swimming, again, you don't want the student to go, okay, nor do we want to give a checklist and say to them, pack your bag for swimming. Because first of all, if working memory is only 4 items, that way exceeds my working memory. Instead, and we do recommend individual bags for activities. So if you have a kid doing swimming and karate, have a bag for each. But what we recommend is that you take everything out of that bag and lay it on the ground. Spread it out and group the items that go together and just take a photograph of it. If you want to label it, great. Then there's two ways that we address this depending upon the age of the child. In those younger grades, about 4th grade and under, let me go back to this one for a minute, we recommend that you actually make a luggage tag. Come on, go back. So odd, there it is. Okay. Now, what that luggage bag tag looks like is you can see here I have a bag, but you put the photograph on the side of the tag. And I'm going to do this and have you watch so that I'm looking here, but I'm going to look up here so that you can see what it looks like. I would look in my bag and say, okay, do I see 3 bottles of shampoo? Yep, 1, 2, 3. Do I see my suit? Yep. But I have flexibility because of the picture. If today's a swim meet, I need a red suit. Yep, I have my red suit. Don't need my flippers. I need my red cap. Yep. I need my, I don't see my goggles. And now I can go take off to get my goggles. But watch the difference. If I don't have that and I simply say, is your bag packed? Do you see the difference between looking at the checklist versus the picture? That's a lot of work. If you have an older student that has a smartphone, I recommend that you have the student take the photograph with their smartphone and create an album on their device of materials. So I'm going to stop for 1 second. I'm going to tell you a great story. So my daughter has such severe ADHD. She would get to the lacrosse field and she'd call her dad and she'd be like, Dad, I forgot my mouth guard, and Dad would drive the mouth guard. And then she'd call up and she'd be like, Dad, I forgot my backup stick, and Dad would drive the backup stick. And then she'd be like, Dad, we need turf shoes and I only brought cleats, and then he'd drive. And he finally got so frustrated with her. So I said, Michaela, you have to try one of the strategies. So, we laid everything out, we took a photograph of what she needed for lacrosse, and it was fascinating because it was around that time, too, that she got her driver's license. Well, she didn't want to drive back to the house to get what she needed, so I would watch her. She'd have her phone right by her keys, and right before she'd walk out the door, she'd go, yep, and go like this. Now, my daughter's a freshman in college, so off she goes to college, and she's playing Division I lacrosse. So they give her all the equipment. So she's at the stadium one day, and she called me up, and she goes, I can't even believe I'm going to admit this story to you, but I have to tell you. I said, okay. So she gets to the stadium one day, and she left some of her lacrosse gear back in her dorm, and so she couldn't go back to her dorm. So the next day, same thing, she'd forgotten something different, so she's like, oh. So she went back to her dorm that night, she laid all of her new equipment out, like this, and photographed it on her phone. So she put it all in her bag, and the next day she's at the stadium and she's at her locker, and they're getting ready to fly to Seattle for a game. So she's got her phone and she's looking in the locker, and the coach walks in, and the coach goes, what are you doing? And she goes, matching the picture. And the coach goes, that's pretty great. And she made the entire team of college lacrosse girls photograph their bags. And it completely worked. I mean, it was sort of funny because I ended up talking to the coach at a parent, tailgate meeting. So here's the thing about it. It's not just a little kid strategy. And it actually really works. And kids will own it because they feel in control of what they need. So it's worth trying. Now, with all of that in mind, again, backpack tags are great. It's especially good if you're from a divorced family because the kid can go house to house. The other thing is, if your child doesn't remember the individual items, then have them just photograph the individual items. And what I'll do is I'll print a picture 8 by 11. I'll lay out all the 8 by 11 photos, and then I take a picture with my phone. So that's great if they're not remembering their individual items. Now, if you're saying to me, oh, that's great, but you know what, the real world uses checklists, then teach your student the process of how to make a checklist. And I'll tell the student, this is what you look like, tell me what you have, tell me where you're going to go in the house. Well, I need to go into the mudroom, then I need to go upstairs to my bedroom, and then I need to go to the kitchen. And then based upon that, I will have them write those items down. And that's what's going to help the most. So you want to teach them the process. Now I have one more trick around this before we talk all homework and complex assignments and time management. Typically, we say to students, go upstairs and get ready, go upstairs and get ready. I want you to try something, but you have to be clear with your student. You want to say to them, look, we imagine what we're going to do in a different space from where we do it. So we think about what we're going to do in our bedroom before we even go upstairs. So stop your child at the bottom of the stairs. I'm going to go to the bottom of the stairs and say, just tell me your plan. What's your plan when you get upstairs? And you want your kid to say, well, I'm going to go up to the bathroom and brush my teeth and put my hair in a ponytail. into my bedroom where I'm going to grab my shorts and my t-shirt and my sneakers and my backpack, and then I'm going to come downstairs. And what you do is you say, what are all the bathroom activities? What are all the bedroom activities? And what you're doing is you're increasing that spatial temporal window. And I have more parents who email me back and say it really works, because you're not just asking them to repeat the direction. You're asking them to stop and literally say, in the bathroom up there, and then that's what I'm going to do when I get over there, so that they're pre-imagining that skill. So with all of that in mind, let me now click over. Oh, so frustrating. One other little quick trick, and this is a really super quick trick that is really powerful. If you have a young one, especially under 5th grade, who's very disorganized in the house, one of the things that we recommend is you just make a little map of your house. And in this example here, this is Ben, and I'm going to tell you a great story about Ben. Ben has a lot of executive function-based challenges. He's a real behavior kid at school, having a tough time. So I did some home therapy, and I went to his house, and we made a map of his house. And I said to Mom, just from Friday until Monday, every time he's doing something in his bedroom, have him tap out the plan. So you can see here he's downstairs in the living room. And what he would do is he would tap his map. I'm going to go up to the dressing zone, I'm going to get my socks and my shirt, I'm going to get my sneakers out of the closet, and I'm going to come downstairs. Ben, it's time for bed. Tap out your plan. He said, okay, I'm going to go upstairs, I'm going to put on my pajamas, I'm going to pick out a book and climb in bed. That's all he did. Now, the funny part was, Ben went back to school on Monday, and I got 3 phone calls from the teacher on Wednesday. And I'm thinking, oh no, what has Ben gotten himself into? So I call her back, and I'm like, hi, everything okay? She goes, I've been dying to talk to you. I said, why? She goes, I just wanted to let you know the medication is working. And I said, what medication? Because you know sometimes parents will put a child on medication and not tell the teacher, see if the teacher notices. And I said, oh no, this is a family who's adamant against medication. This child is not on medication. She said, well, something is different. That kid looks different. So Ben comes into my office on Friday, and I said, Ben, I heard you had a great week. What's different? He goes, well, frankly, I'm mad. I said, you're mad? He goes, yes, I'm mad. I go, what are you mad about? He goes, well, nobody told me I could plan ahead before. I'm like, oh my God, Ben. And Ben learned that you would stop, and when you tap out your plan, you basically stop and say, when I get over there, I'm going to do that. And then he would stop and say, then I'm going to go over there and do that. And all of a sudden, he looked medicated. Now, my favorite part about this is, I tell this story when I lecture, and this mom, this was a mom in Minnesota, she sent me this picture of her daughter, and here's the map of their house. And she said, our map tapper is more focused when heading downstairs to accomplish tasks on her own, and both kiddos are now time managers with their morning and homework routines. What a simple approach to solve so many problems. And this is the kind of feedback I get all the time, because this mom said, Lucy would say, I'm going to go to Dad's office, I'm going to get the construction paper, the markers, and the glue, I'm going to put it on the table, then I'm going to get a drink and a snack, and then I'm going to sit down. And all of a sudden, she was organized, whereas before, she was the kid that would go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and be completely distracted. So if you've got a kiddo that needs that, this is really a good strategy. The other thing is, when you talk about your child's bedroom, talk about it in zones. The sleeping zone, the reading zone, the dressing zone, so that they're imagining what activity am I doing in that space. And again, even for high schoolers, it's the idea of, okay, I'm going to go upstairs to the bathroom, then I'm going to go to the bedroom and get my equipment, down to the bedroom, and then to the garage. I just have them learn to tap out that plan. So our next thing that's important is, if we know that's what it's going to look like, we've got to be able to see the volume of time that we have. So our next goal is to make sure that we make time visible. And let me show you how we're going to make time visible. So how many of you are familiar with the time timer? Don't write this down, by the way. The time timer is not my favorite, and I'm going to tell you why. The way the time timer works is you move the red, and then as red disappears, now I would know I have 35, then 25, 20 minutes. The red disappears. But here's the problem with this. If I've asked a student to do homework from 3 to 3:45, what's the problem with that? That's not what 3 to 3:45 looks like, actually, on the clock. I mean, it's 45 minutes, but it doesn't match the actual time. And some kids can't make that relationship. Now, the other thing is, I have a lot of parents who say, well, I used a timer. And I don't know about your kids, but I have a ton of kids who get very anxious and they'll be like, don't time me. Or they become timer watchers. So they're doing their work and they're like staring at that timer. Plus, if you give a student a watch and it's 12:38 and you say, we're leaving for soccer practice in 10 minutes, the kid goes, awesome, we're leaving at 12:48. The challenge is that 12.48 is in fact actually verbal working memory. It's not nonverbal working memory. It's words and numbers. It's not a visual of what it looks like. So my favorite story is that my accountant called me up one year, and of course I declare a Schedule C because I'm in private practice. And she said to me, are you really declaring $2,000 to the IRS on planning tools? And I said, absolutely, because I bought every clock, every watch, every sand timer, every agenda book. I'm obsessed with teaching time to kids. And I'm very happy to tell you, I know exactly how to help kids internalize the passage of time. Would you like to know what it is? All right, it is, in fact, a clock. There you go. You're like, really? Thanks a lot. Well, yes, you have to have analog clocks because analog clocks make time visible. But I'm going to show you some strategies of how to use an analog clock in a way that might be different than you're used to. And there are two crucial points about this. First of all, in your house, you need a wall clock. Now, what a wall clock is a wall clock hangs on the wall. This right up here is an example of a wall clock. A wall clock tells you the hour of the day. It says that it's, whatever, 10 after 8. Believe it or not, this is kind of not a good thing because that's not the accurate time. And it's amazing to me how many times I go into schools and the clock isn't even accurate. You have to make sure you have an accurate wall clock. But in your house, I want you to change your language. Have a wall clock in the kitchen, in the living room, and say the wall clock says the time of day. Because we also recommend something else. I also recommend that you have another clock in the house that does not hang on the wall. Now this clock, and I'm going to put my microphone down for 1 minute. Hold on. There we go. Stay. This clock we call the working clock. Now, it is a working clock. It'll have a battery. It's actually keeping and telling time. But we call it the working clock because it goes where your student is doing work. So if your student's doing work at the kitchen table, the working clock sits on the kitchen table. If your student's doing work at their desk, it goes on their desk. If your student is in the bathroom, getting ready in the morning and curling their hair, that's where the working clock goes, wherever they're doing work. If I'm in the living room and I'm going to be going to get ready for soccer practice, then the working clock can kind of go in the living room table. And you're clear with your students. Say, hey, this is the working clock. We're making time visible. Now, we highly recommend you have a clock that has a glass face and a metallic frame. The reason is that if you have a glass face, you can use a dry erase marker. And what we do is we show the actual volume of time. So I'm going to start right in the middle, and if I say to my student, we're going to leave for soccer practice in 20 minutes. I draw down the minute hand, and I say we're going to leave in 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. And then I shade in exactly how much time that student has. The beauty of this is that as time passes, they can see that they're running out of time, but they also have the ability to look back and say, well, how did I use that time? Two important things, and please really watch this for 1 minute. I see a lot of times that this is what parents do. They say, okay, you have a half hour blocked for homework, and this is what the parent does. They say, we're going to do homework for a half hour, and they go like this, okay? Now you might have said, well, what's the big deal? That's what you just said to do, shade on the clock. But the problem is, kids today, honestly, are not good at reading analog clocks. A lot of them aren't good at it and don't have the same. Do you know, when we were in school, our analog clock curriculum lasted almost a year. In today's schools, the curriculum's down to, on average, 2 to 3 weeks at best. It's just really reduced. So don't do that, because that was not the counterclockwise direction of time. So it's very important when you model this for your students, a lot of kids can't read these clocks, that you start in the middle and always draw down the minute hand and show them
we're going to do homework for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, so that you're shown the movement of the clockwise direction, and then shade it the way that time will fill up, so that they can really pre-imagine how that time will pass. And the thing that's great about this is, I love to tell the story of my daughter too. There was one time where she sat down to do homework, and then she went to sharpen her pencil. She went to write something, her pencil broke, she went to sharpen her pencil, she noticed the Sports Illustrated, she flipped through the Sports Illustrated, she sat back down, she did another math problem, she stood up, then she went to get herself some Doritos because she was hungry, but she ate the Doritos, we can't eat Doritos and do homework at the same time. So then she went to the bathroom and washed her hands, she sat back down, and she was thirsty, so she hopped up to get herself something to drink. Then she sat back down, she said, Mom, I don't know how to do this problem, can you come help me? I said, I'll be down in 5 minutes. Of course, she didn't want to move on. So she starts practicing her grown-up signature, Michaela, Michaela, Michaela. And then finally I come downstairs and she's like, I'm almost done with homework, can I go outside and play? Well, how has she done? Terrible. And the thing is that now she realizes, oh my gosh, I just used all that time. I had all of these distractions. Kids like to see the time being visible. Don't think, oh my gosh, my kid's gonna back away from this. They'll really own it because suddenly it makes the time visible and they're more productive. So in this example, we often make sure that the students themselves have the ability to shade that clock on their own. You don't want to just do it for them. You want that kid to say, okay, I'm doing my paragraph, I want to spend 15 minutes. And they just shade it. I'm going to work for 15 minutes. Because the goal is to externalize time, let them see the volume of time. But there's another little sort of kicker here, and the kicker is, and by the way, make sure it's always in the homework area because we want kids to sort of see time. And this is not a shameless plug for business. We do sell this clock on our website, but there's a reason. We always recommended clocks. Everybody loved clocks. But the downside was if you went to Staples and bought a clock, you'd put it in the homework center and it would go tick, 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 and it would make kids nuts. So we had to solve the problem. On our website, we sell tickless clocks. So if that's your need, you can check out our website. But I've been told Amazon has a few tickless clocks. But note to self, everybody. If you buy a clock with a plastic clock face, can't use a dry erase marker or you will forever commit those 30 minutes to your plastic clock. So if you have a plastic clock, just make sure you're using a water-based vis-a-vis or a Crayola marker. So the next thing is this is just making time visible. Once we've made time visible, we need to make a shift to planning time. And when we plan time, we use a strategy called shade, mark, and check. Now, shade, mark, and check, there's a number of things that we do, and let me show you what this looks like. The first thing is we go ahead and shade how much time the student has. So we need just 1 minute to pull out something. So if I have a student who's, say, going to be working on their division paper for a half hour, or their homework, whatever it is, I shade the volume of time. So I can say you have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes to work on that. And I can go ahead and shade exactly what that amount of time is. The next thing is, we really identify the future picture. Well, I want to go outside and play. I want to go in my iPad. I actually really like to draw right on the clock what the future picture is, so that the student can kind of look forward to saying, oh, when this is done, then I'll be on my iPad. It's sort of externalizing that reward, if you will. But the next thing is, we need students to plan time to gather their materials and to close out a task. So maybe I need 5 minutes to get my materials together. What I'll do is I'll kind of put a stripe and just make this look a little bit different. And then maybe I need a couple more minutes at the end to put my materials away and to pack my backpack up. The reason that's important is a lot of times kids block a half hour to do homework, but in fact, they don't have a half hour's worth of work. They actually only have 20 minutes worth of work because they needed time to get their stuff together and put their stuff away. So we're teaching them realistically how to plan time. But the next thing is that human beings absolutely think in time markers. What we do is we don't just, for example, this morning, and say, I'll stay in the shower until the hot water runs out. You have a plan. I need to get up. I need to be out of the shower by 20 after. I have to be finished, dressed, makeup by 7:30. I need to be downstairs and finished eating by 7:40 and out the door by 7:50. You imagine that so that when you get in the shower and you're showering, you're thinking, I have to be out in 10 minutes. That's what a time marker is. Even myself, I'm looking in my mind, I'm like, okay, I need to be here by my presentation at 8:30, by 8:40, that's where I want to be. We imagine a mark in time. Therefore, we really felt strongly, and my coworker Kristen developed an amazing program called the Time Tracker Program. And what we do is we externalize time by creating time markers. Now I'm going to show you 3 different ways that you can create time markers. Here's the first way. We use magnets. Yes, we have magnets on our website, but you can get magnets at CVS or Office Max. And what we do is we put a magnet, because this is a magnetic frame, we put a magnet where the student is going to start their work, and we slide the magnet to where they're going to stop. If you're really working with a student who's bad at time, don't put the marker here. Have them pre-experience the movement of time. I'm going to work for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. And then we have the student identify a midpoint check-in. Well, this is about where I would be at the midpoint. And we have a little magnet with a time robber. And what we do is we hide our time robber like that. Now, the reason behind this is that I can now see a future mark in time. And this really helps me with planning. If you want to set a timer so that there's an audible alert to the passage of time, do not set a timer for 30 minutes. Because if I'm working, and I'm working away, and I'm working away, and all of a sudden the timer goes off at 30 minutes, I don't have the opportunity then to check in and readjust my plan. So if you have a timer, you're going to want to set that timer for the 10-minute mark. So if you look at this example here, if I'm going to set a timer, instead of setting it for a half hour, I would want to set that timer to the 15-minute mark. So when I get to my midpoint, I can check in and say, how's it going? If you look at this example here, where I'm doing this worksheet, I want to have about half of the problem solved by the time I get to my midpoint. If you look at this example, and you can see again why we're sort of making time external, maybe, there it goes. So there it is you can see here, I've got 10 vocabulary words that I'm making flashcards for. So if I'm working at my midpoint, I want to have about 5 flashcards done. It really gives me the point of what is my goal. So if you look at this example too, I love this one. And by the way, I do have one other recommendation. There's a very cool device called the My Power Clock. Now what I love about this little device is if in this example, I want a student to check in 10 minutes, as you can see here, around the outside edge are buttons. They say 5, 10, 20, 30, 45, 1, 1.5, and 2. If I want a student to check in 10 minutes, I push the 10. The timer's set. It's called an easy set timer. The other reason I love this is when the plastic is closed, it just vibrates, so a student can have it in their pocket. But it's not an obnoxious timer, so that I can just check in 10 minutes and say, okay, how am I doing? It's a very cool little tool. So watch my PowerPoint for a minute. Time is passing, all right? And I'm working on my division paper, and I get to my midpoint. Okay, if that were my work, how am I doing? What do you think? How's it going? So-so. I mean, I maybe wanted to have 3 more problems done. I'm not quite where I want to be. Well, it's at this point that we say to kids, okay, tell me your time robbers. What are the things that are stealing your time? And we'll take out the time robber. And we love to use that phrase, time robbers, because kids get it. Guess what time robbers do? They steal your time. And it's much better than saying, you need to get back on track, you need to be doing your work, you look distracted. We just say, tell me your time robbers, so that it's externalized. So the thing about it is, and I just want to show you this for 1 minute. If this is my student and they have that division, I now know, okay, in the next 15 minutes, what's my plan to tackle that division? If the phone is my time robber, maybe I'll put it on airplane mode. If it's that the dog is really distracting me, I'm going to put the dog outside. If it's my little brother, I can't put my little brother outside, but maybe I'll move my position. So I'm replanning how to manage this to be done. But watch the difference. I'm going to take my clock for a minute and I'm going to remove all of my time markers. I'm going to erase the clock. And let's pretend that you did not externalize time. All you do is you just have this hanging on the wall and you don't have a working clock. And we come downstairs and we say to our student, how's your division going? Do you see the difference? I don't know when I started. I don't know how much time I have left. I have no ability to look back and see, was I focused during that time? So that's the value of making time visible. I can really see exactly what my plan is. And again, I'll go back to this. I can really see, how's it going? Well, I've got that amount of time. What's my plan? Do I need help? So I really encourage you to make sure that you make that time visible. So again, let me sort of just jump to this one here. Two other suggestions. If you don't want to use magnets, use Post-it notes. Just put a Post-it note of what their goal is. By the midpoint, I want to be on page 26 and have answered 2 questions, and by the end point, I want to be on page 30. Believe it or not, I don't have kids
Push back against this because they feel more in control and they're managing their time. Now, one other thing for high school students, which is pretty cool, especially if you have an iPhone, unfortunately we don't have it for Android, but we have an app called the 360 Thinking Time Tracker app. And what it does is it puts this amount of time right on the student's iPad or their phone, so that as they're doing their homework, they can see, okay, I have 10 minutes left or 20 minutes left. We have a lot of high schoolers who don't mind that, and it has a very soft tone that will alert you when to start your work, when to be at your midpoint, and when you're hitting your end point. And it makes time visible, so that's pretty cool. So finally, how many of you, by the way, have kids kindergarten through 3rd grade? Any kindergarten through 3rd grade? Just the one of you. I'll give you a quick couple of you, quick strategy. Now I'm going to give you the answer. The answer is 10:30. Are you ready? And this is important, by the way, if you have kids who developmentally are maybe in 4th grade but can't read an 11 o'clock. So if I come to you and I say, Mommy, when is Daddy going to be home? When's that? When's that? Yeah, I mean, you can see where we're going around because I can't read a clock and you're going to keep saying 10:30, 10:30. I'm like, I don't know what you mean. So in this case, we recommend that you make something called the Wonder Time Clock. Now what the Wonder Time Clock is, it's fine if you get a regular clock. If you go to this tiny URL or my website, I have a PDF that looks like this. You just print it out. And you're going to cut out the clock face and these 3 small circles, and you put it underneath the clock hands. Now, the second hand, you're going to put the little picture of a hummingbird because seconds are very fast. On the minute hand goes the squirrel, and on the hour hand goes the turtle because hours are slow. So now when I come to you and I say, when is Daddy going to be home? You can say, well, honey, Daddy will be home at 10:30. When the squirrel gets to the beaver, Daddy will be here. And it is awesome because kids finally see the sweep and the volume of time. And I gotta tell you, it's actually my dads that love it the most. The dads are like, okay, when the squirrel gets to the frog, we're leaving for baseball. You know, it just kind of gives this commanding language of what the plan is. So if you work with students, if you've got younger kids, this is awesome. Now, if your kiddo, like, let's say, is really like not into frogs and bunnies and salamanders, but maybe your kid is really into Star Wars or is really into Minecraft, whatever it is, you could even make technically your own clock. You know what I mean? You could design it that way. So I just encourage that for the younger kids because it really externalizes it for those kiddos. Now, the next thing that I want to move to is to managing complex homework assignments. And I find for a lot of families, it's not so bad when kids have what I call kill and drill worksheets. So if your kiddos come home and they have to do, you know, like the 10 spelling words, or they need to do the 14 math problems, that's not so bad as when it's the writing assignments or the complex assignments. Do you find the same thing a little bit? So let me show you some examples and some solutions to complex assignments. So I really love this example here. Remember, our goal is that we want students to start with the done, to visualize what will it look like when I'm done. So take a look at this assignment. It was a 4th grade assignment. It says, on an index card, carefully draw a colorful picture representing your topic. At the top of the card, write topic and date. Below the picture, write 2 or 3 sentences explaining your topic. Your sentence should state who or what the card is about and describe what's most important to know about this person, place, or event. Okay, so 4th grade assignment. Now some of you might say, well, it's not so bad. But the feedback that I get from parents are, they don't initiate this, or they might do part of the assignment and not all of the steps. Do you see the same thing with your kiddos? I will show you the student that I was working with. This is what he did with it. He crumpled it up and threw it away. Like, okay. So what we do is we say to kids, okay, well, with a complex assignment, let's visualize what the done looks like, and let's be what we call a future sketcher. So if I take this, now I animated this, but you can take out a regular 8 by 11 piece of paper and make a sketch. And the sketch is really important. So an index card, by the way, is a rectangle. So we just make a sketch of a rectangle. If you want to teach your student to break down complex directions, have them circle the action words. Draw is an action word. Write is an action word. Write is an action word. Explain, state, describe. Then what we do is we underline that key idea. I'm drawing a colorful picture. I'm writing topic and date. I'm writing 2 or 3 sentences explaining my topic. I'm stating who or what the card is about, and I'm describing what's most important to know. Now, the thing about this is when we sketch that out, I would say, okay, well, I'm doing a little picture. At the top of the card, we're writing topic and date. Now, how do we write and sketch a sentence? I'm not going to write a full sentence. All I'm going to do is just do my little scribbles like that. And kids don't mind this, and here's the reason why. Because it's hard to start writing. It's easy to make a quick little line. And then I'm saying who or what this card is about and what's most important to know. Do you now see what this assignment looks like? Yeah. And that's way easier than the other one. So all of a sudden kids will be like, oh, okay, I can do that. And they'll initiate. So take a look at this one. I love what this student did. I love the fact that he said to get ready, I need my brain. Now, you don't necessarily have to do a full worksheet like this, but I want you to start with that future sketch. So take a look at this one. This was a 7th grade assignment that came across my desk. Sketch costumes for at least 3 characters in the novel. Each character needs 2 costume changes. For each drawing, explain why the outfit accessory color is appropriate to its owner. How is the apparel useful or necessary in a particular setting or situations? Okay, does anyone